Boom, we're live. Welcome to the Thunder from Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Graham Solomon. And as always, go to the Graham Solomon Thunder from Down Under YouTube channel. If you're new and watching, belt that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you can become part of the family. So when we go live, you get notified. And if you're watching on Facebook, hit the like button, hit the love button for our guest that's about to come in. Give him plenty of love. He's an old acquaintance and friend of mine that's we're in a networking group together, and he's in a field that is amazing. So without saying too much, I'll get him on and he can explain it. But his name is Antonio Holman. Welcome, Antonio. Thanks for coming on to the Thunder from Down Under podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Glad to be here, man. Graham, I haven't talked to you in so long. We got lots of catching up to do aside from this show, but yeah, I'm way too busy. I'm busier than I know I should be. And I mean, that's probably the reason you have as well, is because you've been really busy too. You got a lot of episodes, man. You're knocking it out.
We've been trying to catch up for a while, and the reason I've wanted to get you in is because you're in a field that's it's on the cutting edge now, and I wanted to get you in to explain to the audience about the impact it can have with real estate investing and getting your name out there and getting your brand out there. So I've got on the little tag investor. I mean, you've got your own podcast. You're a well accomplished podcaster, so we'll talk about that as well. But you're a media specialist, and I want you to talk about how media and explain to people what it means and what it can do for their business. But just before that, as I always ask on the show, I want you to introduce your backstory, how you got into this, and how the whole media and real estate thing come about, and then sort of evolve up to the journey to where you're at now. So if you could tell us that in your own words, that'd be awesome.
All right, I'm going to try my best not to make this story way too long, but let's see. So the media thing, it's been something I've been involved in pretty much since I was about 10 years old, when I first got my first shiny orange drum set when I was 10 years old. So I've been a musician since I was 10, and all the years of performing and being in entertainment and being on TV at 12 years old, which was super weird because I was terrified. And all of those things just have culminated into all of the things that I'm doing now. And media and entertainment and music production, all that stuff. It's like at this point in my life, it's been second nature. Okay. So once I started to have some financial struggles and life struggles, when you have struggles like that throughout your life, you start to think differently. You start to search for things and you wonder why things are wrong and why they're bad and how come things are such a mess. So the further you dig into it, you start to connect the dots really for the main thing. Well, not necessarily the main thing for everybody, but for me, it was financial. So I started to wonder why these financial issues exist, why my knowledge of finances was so, lackluster. And the more I dug into it, the more I learned about real estate investing and a lot of things that can help people create financial freedom. And financial literacy just kind of goes, hand in hand with that. But the thing is, when you live your life, especially in the United States, where the teaching of financial literacy is really embarrassing and almost non-existent, it's a shame, and it blew my mind. And I was like, well, why doesn't everybody know about these avenues of building wealth in this country that seem very illegal? It seemed very, a lot of people are very doubtful that it won't land them in prison. But that's how things have been run for hundreds of years in this country. I mean, things like that. I mean, everything's come from England, Great Britain, and everything. So this stuff nothing is new. It's just that as United States citizens, we're not necessarily exposed to it. But if you dig deeper, you realize that the majority of wealthy people, they teach their children these concepts. And if you didn't grow up wealthy, you just don't know, because the school system, they can't shove it into their curriculum and things like that. So once I started to realize that the real estate investing path existed, and I started digging into it and getting to meet people in the space locally, and I realized, first of all, I thought it was just going to be a room full of sharks in like REIA meetings and nobody was going to be nice. I met so many nice people in the real estate investing industry. It's everybody wants to help. They want to help more than you ever think that they would. And it's an incredible opportunity for everybody to build wealth in the United States. So once I put those things together with all my years of media experience and podcasting and all of those things, I was like, wait a minute, why don't I just create an organization that helps people learn these concepts and I can expose the entire country, if not the world, because you're in a different country. I could expose everybody to these concepts and everybody can start to learn how to build financial freedom and a legacy for their family and pass on things generation after generation after generation. So that was the reason
Yeah.
why I created United States Real Estate Investor, is to try to help this country be wealth minded, because instead of teaching us how to build wealth in school, they teach us how to be employees, which I get it, but at the same time, it's, to me, it's kind of disgraceful,
Yeah.
because if you build a wealthy society, you're going to have happy, wealthy citizens, and it's just it goes on and on and on. It exchanges hands back and forth. That's just how it goes. So that's my super long story of why I created United States Real Estate Investor. And since I had been podcasting, it seemed like a natural way to expose everybody to these concepts and get to help business owners in the space already, to help them create partnerships and further relationships in the industry as well. So that's the reasoning behind what I
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that it's been hidden from the public, these wealth creation methods, and has been. Now, we've got YouTube and that is starting to come out more and more now.
Yeah.
But then you realized, well, the way that I can help solve this problem is to have, through my creative side, through the media that I'm really good at, I can actually expose more and more people to these wealth building and make it that it's everyone's got access to it. Because,
Yeah.
as you said, in previous decades, it's only been the elite that have had it, and now it's to try and get it to filter down to grassroots level. So that's what you're about. Is you're about, through media, which is your passion and something you've been doing since you were a kid. You
Yeah.
can actually get it out, and it's like social media in a sense, isn't it? It just gets more and more stuff out from
Yeah.
grassroots level, and then it comes back to grassroots level. So it's amazing. It's a great concept. I'll get you to explain and give us an overview of what you're talking about there, like with your organisation, and how many facets it's got. Because I know myself, you've got you bring together podcasters from all over the country. So I'll get you to explain that to the audience, because it is quite amazing the reach that you get, that you're able to have once you get a platform like you've got.
Yeah. So when I started putting out content, I was doing a podcast just by myself. I didn't think about including anyone else, and it was kind of a selfish way for me to learn, that I realized when I was doing my first podcast, which is not real estate investing related. It's called The Four Principles of Success, where I got to talk to people from all over the world about the successes that they have achieved in all facets of life. I mean, authors, financial advisors, um, famous chefs, all types of things like that. And it
Yeah,
was really great, because otherwise you would never get a chance to talk to people like that.
yeah,
So it was an opportunity for me to learn from people who've already done things, and help the listeners enhance their knowledge, health, wealth, and spirituality in their lives and become successful too. So I used that same concept from that podcast and I created Real Estate Investing Success. And I started in St. Louis, Missouri. And it was really fun, because once you're in a community of real estate investors, people love community. And that was the one concept that I purposely did not focus on, which I realized was a mistake, but I still did it. I focused on the four principles of success. I focused worldwide. But when I did real estate investing success, I focused on a local market. And this is what the experts say, is they say whenever you focus on local markets, you get more camaraderie, you get more exposure, you get more fellowship around what you're doing, because people are passionate about their local community. So I did the first season of Real Estate Investing Success St. Louis, and everybody really enjoyed it. I did some shows. I partnered with a couple women to create an all women's podcast in St. Louis. That was so much fun because we got to actually record live at a coffee shop so people could come there and sit and enjoy the show and coffee and breakfast or whatever and get to meet the people on the show and see it being filmed right there live. Super fun. It's
Mm.
so much fun having women in conversations like that because that is in business, that's the typically underrepresented demographic. And to have just a women only platform, I had a blast. I don't know about anybody else, but I loved it. And that was a lot of fun. So that was a great example of how the local market comes together because they like to expose each other to new things, new people, and they end up working together after shows like that are recorded. I did season 2 of Real Estate Investing Success. So for St. Louis. So that was just as fun because it's still dealing with local people. So as I was doing those podcasts, I kind of started thinking, I was like, well, wait a second. Why couldn't I include not just my own content I was creating on my platform, but why couldn't I help bring other people onto the platform, which in turn turns them into a magnet of partnerships and more business and things like that. Like for you, example, your shows are starting to come out on my platform. So you have more people going, hey, who's this Graham guy? He's interesting. Let's see what he's got going on. Next thing you know, you have more partnerships, more people handing you deals, so on and so on. So the concept of United States Real Estate Investor is evolving into a very large platform of real estate investing focused and financial focused content that is not only helping the viewers gain financial literacy, it's helping the hosts of these shows, which are business owners, it's helping them create more business for themselves because they're giving out free information, they're giving out things, and people love to see people be human beings and give out advice and give out just generalized knowledge to help them increase their wealth. And eventually it's going to help them increase their health and their mental stability. All of these things work together. So that's what the platform of United States Real Estate Investor is evolving into. It's evolving into having multiple people in the real estate investing industry involved with their own content. So it's not just me, it's actually giving other people platforms because think about this because you're doing a lot of technological things that you've never done before. You're actually pulling it off very well, and you say that's not your strong suit. But a lot of other people are similar and they're frightened by technology and things like that. Well, if I approach someone or they approach me and say they want to have a show, they're like, well, I'd love to have a show on your network, but I have no idea how to do it. That's where we come in and we say, all you have to do, show up, be great. We'll take care of all the other technical things. And that's another way we're giving back to the people who are putting themselves on our network. We're giving them the platform. They don't have to kill themselves trying to figure out how to do anything. We already know how to do that stuff. So that's really the basics of it. And we have some exciting shows coming. The one, let me tell you, I got to say this. I haven't really told a lot of people about this, but this one is super cool. It's going to be great as far as I'm concerned. Maybe I'm biased. This month in real estate investing, that is going to be an incredible show because it's going to be hosted by realtor and real estate investor in Denver, Colorado, James Brown. Super fun guy, super cool guy. I think he was on your show before,
Yeah,
right?
no, he's a great guy.
Yeah,
He's a
he's
token
super
Aussie.
awesome.
He's been out to Melbourne. He's a token
Ah,
Aussie, so I've embraced him. He's a great guy,
yeah.
James. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're going to have him host, and there's going to be 3 expert panelists on every show, and they're going to talk about the real estate investing news of that month. So it's going to be a great show because a lot of people are going to give value, and the participants or the viewers, they're going to gain a lot of value from the guests because they're going to think back about the month that they just went through, and they'll be able to make sense out of what just happened and try to
Mm.
make their next month, their coming month, even better, so on and so on. And from what I hear, so far, it seems like we're going to be streaming live to probably over 55,000 people. So I'm
Beautiful.
super excited. It's going to be
Mm.
great. And this is exactly what the mission of United States Real Estate Investor is all about. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome, and it's a double-edged sword because, as you said before, um, with the first topic you were talking about, people like myself get to network with people like you, with James Brown, with all these other podcasters,
Yeah.
and it just spreads not only the viewers' knowledge, it spreads our knowledge and our connections and networks as well. So that's amazing. And then with what you've just said there is, I mean, I've seen the way that your graphics and it's just brilliant. I mean, that's your passion. That's what you're good at. You've been doing it all your life.
Yeah.
And for someone like myself, like if someone's watching this and they go, "Oh, look, I've just started doing a bit of a podcast in my Facebook group," if they reach out to you, like you said, they can just focus on what they're good at and what they're doing. That's all they need to focus on.
Yeah.
And you know, you guys are the experts at that. So then that increases your brand. You've got more podcasters. You've got, like for instance, you just said about a specific one in St. Louis. If someone reaches out to you and says, "Look, I've got one in Dallas, Texas,
Yeah.
and this is what I'm doing," and I've got one, all of a sudden, the reach is amazing. People can come to your platform and they can pick and choose who they want to watch in what area, and if it's specific to them, what
Yeah.
state. So all of a sudden, it's a one-stop shop, I guess. And like you said, it's a win-win for the audience. It's a win-win for the podcasters, and it's a win for you because you're actually pulling it all together and achieving what you want to achieve, which is having this network that's educating people on a grander scale. So I think it's
Yeah.
amazing, and like every time I see something of yours with the graphics and that, I go, I've got to ring up Antonio. I've got to get some. Well, I mean, I asked you a question before we come on, and you just gave me an answer like that. So
Yeah.
that's good. But and that's what I like because someone that could be watching this could be saying, "Look, I want to do it, but I just haven't got the tech skills or I haven't got the confidence." They talk to you, 5 minutes, they walk out, they're beating their chest saying, "I'm going to do this." And that's what needs to happen is people that are leading the industry like yourself need to encourage the people coming behind that it's
Exactly.
possible, it's
The one
possible.
the one aspect that you touched on that I kind of failed to really specifically mention is we do have content based on cities throughout the United States. So, for example, instead of Real Estate Investing Success St. Louis, we have Real Estate Investing Success Dallas, Real Estate Investing Success Chicago,
Mm,
Real Estate Investing Success Los Angeles. So we do touch on all of the major cities throughout the United States. And if like you just mentioned just now, if there's a real estate investor who's out there and they're thinking, man, I would love to reach out to my community, I have no way how to do it, they could contact us
yep.
and we'd find out what city they want to focus on or where they're based. We'll create that show around that specific city so they can market to their community. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
wonderful. I love it.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. And that is the power. And that's why I wanted to bring you on of the media space. It's just
Hmm.
amazing. And I'll ask you a few questions on podcasting because, you're a experienced podcaster, but that we're talking about the bigger picture, not just a podcast. We're talking about a whole network. And it's
Yeah,
amazing. I mean, I remember talking to you early days and I was super pumped because I thought that's a brilliant idea. And it's just like, for instance, if I want to learn about the Chicago market, I tune in and listen to that podcast, and I listen to the
yeah,
people that are on the ground. And I mean, how cool is that? I mean, it's just come forward in leaps and bounds. Now, I'll just
yeah.
give you an example, Antonio. Too, I'm over in Australia. One of our viewers has just come in. He's in New Zealand. He's
Okay.
got some property in the US. And he's doing wholesaling, and he's got some rental and he's over in New Zealand. So this is the reach that it can have. I mean, maybe one
Yeah,
day you could have a New Zealand podcast on your platform because
yeah.
he'll be then like I am. I'm reaching out to people in Australia and said, "Have you thought about the US market? Have you thought about
Right.
this?" And that's the reach that it has. And I'm sure there's people I mean, I know people in Serbia and all other countries that are in US real estate, Israel.
Okay.
So this is the power of the platform. You'll be able to bring it all together. And I mean, we've seen. I know it's a little bit different, but we've seen the explosion of the old reality TV,
Yeah.
which we don't know how much reality is involved in that. But the podcasting
Right.
and what you're doing is a bit more real, down to earth. Like you said, I would have loved to have watched that episode where the ladies all come into the cafe and they're
Yeah.
keeping it real and they're just talking, you're keeping it real about life. I mean, that's what people want. That's why people love podcasts. They want to see real people, and they want to hear
Right.
from real people on the ground. So I think it's
Hmm.
amazing what you've been able to pull together. And yeah, we will do a shout out at the end and just say to anyone, I've got your details on the screen. I want people to reach out if they're new into podcasting, if they're in certain markets, and reach out to you and you know if they can jump on your platform and
Yeah.
be a part of a new wave that's coming through.
Yeah. Anybody needs any help podcasting, or they want to be part of the United States Real Estate Investor, just reach out. I got my website, United States Real Estate Investor website. I'll help you as much as I can. I mean, that was the purpose behind creating this organization, was to help other people learn about financial freedom building and helping business owners further their
Yep.
message. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about giving, man. That was one aspect in my life that I was missing for so long,
Yep.
is once you start giving to other people, things just start coming back to you automatically for no apparent reason. And I
Yep.
just keep doing it. I love
Yep.
it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Now, what I'll do is I'll just jump across to podcasting,
Hmm.
and I mean, these might sound like silly questions to you, but if there's any viewers that are thinking about doing it, like even they've got a Facebook group and they want to go live and start that way, and then maybe look at getting into podcasting, uh, what what are the steps that you say they should take? Should they just take action to start with, or is there a bit of planning that you would give them advice on?
Well, let's see. So the first thing I would say is start with the mental planning. Break out a notebook and a pen, paper, pencil, whatever, and write down the show subject matter that you would like to focus on. Make sure it's something you actually enjoy, But I mean, that's why I'm working nonstop, like I mentioned when we first started. I work nonstop, and I got my friends, they're telling me, you need to take a break. I got my mom telling me you need to take a break. I don't want to take a break just for the simple fact that I'm enjoying myself. I mean, I'm having a blast. I sound like a crazy person, but I'm having a blast, literally. If I could stay up and never sleep or eat, is what I would do. So when you're starting a podcast, you're thinking about it, make sure the subject matter is something you actually enjoy. You don't have to be super knowledgeable about it, because here's the little kicker. Here's one of the secrets, like I did with the 4 principles of success. And really, with real estate investing, I don't know everything about real estate investing. So what you can do, you can actually write down your subject matter and go, okay, this is actually something I don't really know a lot about. So what's the easiest way for me to learn about it? What you do is you talk to people in that space. They will tell you things about the industry or whatever it is that you'd like to know. That's one of the easiest ways to create a podcast, to give yourself value. And in turn, you're giving the listeners value too, because there's at least 1,000 other people who want to know exactly about the things that you are into. So that's the first thing I'd say. Write down the subject matter, make sure it's something you're interested in, that you enjoy. And you can kind of do like a makeshift breakdown of the show. Break it down into 3 parts, break it down into 10 questions, like 10 staple questions. If you keep it really simple like that, you'll start to flesh out better, bigger, better ideas, more fun ideas. But that is the simplest way to get into podcasting, is get it
Yeah.
on paper. That creates clarity in your mind, and everything should flow from there. Now, when it comes to the technical thing, that's something else, because there's tons of options. There's tons of options that you don't even need. But if you're on the simplest budget, or you have no budget and all you have is a mobile phone, you could do a podcast on whatever subject matter you like, just with yourself speaking. And you could sit in your car with your mobile phone and record yourself speaking. And if the content's good and if the audio's decent enough, people will tune in every week to hear what you have to say. Podcasting is one of the most powerful things
Mm.
on the planet. And like you and I, we do video podcasting now. But when I first started, everything was audio. So everything has evolved into video. And that's one of the main things that especially real estate investors and people who are selling courses or coaching or consulting in this industry, they don't realize that, well, things have evolved to where we have to put ourselves on video. We have to put ourselves out there through social media, through platforms like mine, to get ourselves to stick. That's the key, is once you're out there in audio or video, you're there forever. You're offering value forever. So the point I was getting at was, just because you think you have to do video, it doesn't mean you have to do video, because audio is much more versatile than video. You can take the audio anywhere you want. It's the same information, it's the same fun, it's the same value you're giving to your listeners and viewers, whatever. But if it's audio, people can start podcasting with just simple audio. I don't want anybody to think that, look at this audio stuff or the video stuff, I don't know how to do this. How are they doing that? Look at the cameras and the lighting and this and that. There's no need to be that overwhelmed. Start simple with that piece of paper and think about the mobile phone you have in your pocket. You can go from there. That's what I say.
Yeah, and another feature now that you mentioned, you got your phone, and you can set it up on a box, get the right
Yeah.
height. You don't need a stand. You don't need anything. Just you've got your mobile phone, which most people have got. Get your mobile phone, and now with Facebook, Facebook Live. They've got a feature. I think you can bring someone else in, so you can actually
Yeah.
have a. I mean, it's obviously not as high tech as other stuff, but hey, all of a sudden you got your guest on there. You can do some
Yeah.
yourself, and you can do lives with someone else. So
Hmm.
that's a start. Just get started, and I
Right.
think I think that was great advice. What you said about just have a bit of a plan, like just a pen and paper. Just jot down how you want your show to look. Google some information to see how other people do. Suggest to do break it down into say 3 parts and
Right.
just get started. So it's an amazing thing, and the benefits. I'll get you to run through the benefits. Like the
Hmm.
benefits that I've realised and we talked about before the show was access to people that you probably wouldn't otherwise get to talk to. So you get to talk to people that have climbed the mountain, and you're like, wow, the information and the knowledge and that they generally are great people and they're very giving.
Hmm.
So I mean, there's probably a few other key points also, Antonio. I'll get you to um, elaborate on that. Some of the benefits for someone to start a podcast.
There you go. So let's see. We'll start with benefits. Okay. So when you have, like I mentioned just a moment ago, when you put content out, I mean, let's face it here. If it's on the internet once, it's there forever. Okay. So as a business owner and someone who's marketing anything, that right there gives you a clue of why you should think about podcasting, video or audio, because it's never going to disappear. It's always going to be available. Like for example, platforms like Spotify. When I first got into podcasting, I realized that they would take your file on your podcast host and everyone would utilize that RSS feed and it would get distributed all over the world through all the other podcast players. Here's the one key thing about Spotify. I think there may be another host that does it. They don't just use your RSS feed, they actually download the file. So once they download the file onto their computers, that file's there forever. Even if your host is gone, they still have their file right there. So your content, your marketing content as a business person, it's still there, accessible to give value and possibly gain some leads for you. The other thing as a podcast host is it's on a psychological level. You tend to subconsciously appear to be an expert in whatever that field is. You are deemed to be an authority because you're continually putting out this content on that same subject matter. So once you're looked at as an authority in that space, there's a possibility to where you would have other companies who are in that space. They may reach out to you and go, hey Graham, I like what you're doing. You think you'd be interested in us marketing our service or product on your show? There's a revenue generator right there. So that's another benefit of
Mm,
podcasting. Um, the other thing is, which is the reason I started, is you're giving value for free.
mm,
And that's probably the most powerful aspect of podcasting, is because people are able to access what you're doing, access your information for nothing, no cost whatsoever. People can go to libraries and access your content. People can go anywhere and access your content. There's no reason to pay anyone. So to me, that's the most powerful aspect of it, because you're helping other people for free and you're getting back the value of possible revenue generation and more business to yourself, basically at no cost as well. So the
yeah,
benefits are probably even longer than the ones I
yeah,
touched on. Yeah.
yeah, and there's probably a heap more. And and that's what I'm saying. It's not out of the reach of anyone. People,
Yeah.
and this is why I wanted you to emphasize that anyone can do it,
Yeah.
and you've just got to look at the reason you're doing it. Like I originally started was for some content for my Facebook group, and it just sort of all of a sudden, oh, if you thought of
Yeah.
doing a podcast, oh no, next week, bang! I wasn't prepared, but I probably should
Yeah.
have taken your advice and written some notes, but I didn't. But anyway, that's how it started, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. People say to me, "Oh, you've been doing it for what?" I was no different than anyone else. I'm a tradesman, I grew up as a tradesman, so it wasn't something I thought I was going to do. But in doing it, I would recommend it. I've actually recommended it to a few people that have started doing it in their Facebook groups and that, because it is just such a powerful thing. And the minimum thing that you can achieve is you're helping people within your group
Yeah.
get knowledge and learn and have information, have access to people that can have climbed the mountain and can give them valuable tips with what they're trying to do. So, like
Hmm.
you said, you start with your why and then you build from there. So, yeah, amazing. I'll just go to the chat for a sec. I've got talking about my Facebook group. I've got one of the biggest legends in our group. Ruben has just said I would like a consultation. So what I'll do is I
Awesome.
will hook Ruben up with you to reach out to you, because Ruben would be a great podcaster because he's got
Excellent.
the gift of the gab, and I'm not
Perfect.
sure. I haven't spoken to Ruben for a while, but I'll hook you up, Ruben. Don't worry about that. And Antonio's the man. So I'll contact you, Ruben, after the show, and we'll get you hooked up with Antonio. But
Awesome.
just on the screen, there's Antonio's Facebook group. Now, jump in that. It's a great Facebook group, and it's a way to access, obviously, Antonio. And then he's given us his personal one as well, so you can reach out to him personally, because he's truly passionate about this. He wants to empower people, and that's what drives him. And the
Yeah.
first time I met Antonio, he told me that, and he just said, "This is what I'm about." And he wants to empower people, and he does. He wants to build something that can spread it right across the United States. So that's
Yeah.
that's that's the name of the outfit, is the United States Investor. And guys, you got to start off in the Facebook group, get to know Antonio, and then get to see what he's doing out there, because it's amazing. I mean, I wish I could have a visual of basically how it's all set up,
Yeah.
because it's bringing just voices from all over the country and the world together. So it's amazing. So
It's going to be quite huge once it's fleshed out. It's
yeah,
Yeah, it blows my mind. I'm blowing my own mind with what's going to be created. And there's actually something really huge that I'd love to tell you, but I can't.
yeah. We'll maybe
But
get you back
yes,
on for another show.
yeah,
But I've just said that with Ruben. But anyone that's watching this, and anyone that's in my network, reach out to me personally. Like, just send me a message. Even most people have got me Messenger or in the group, and I will hook you up with Antonio, because, like I said, you need to speak to someone that knows the whole industry, that knows that it's not as tricky to get started, and will give you the encouragement, because, like I said, he's truly passionate about it. So reach out to me. Now, Antonio, the media platform, how long has that been up and running for? I mean, has it been? Have you been working on it for years, or did you sort of have a launch date where you went, go back a year or 2 years? Have you been at it for a while, or has it all sort of come together really quickly?
well, it pretty much came together pretty quickly. I kind of had the idea about 6 months, probably actually less than before it was actually created. So it started in June 2019 as St. Louis Real Estate Investor Magazine. That was a specific community focused product there. Now, as we all know, COVID happened, and I started to question everything, and I was like, okay, wait a minute. So originally, when I built this, I knew I was eventually going to go nationwide, but COVID kind of put such a halt on everything,
Yeah,
and I I I had a lot of downtime, and I was like, you know what? This is probably the best time for me to go ahead and transition now.
yep,
Okay. And it's my focus is still to focus on the individual communities and the cities, which is more difficult when you have a nationwide branded thing. But it's still the focus is still there. The focus is still in here. That's never going away, because that's the only way you get into people the way you'd like to and help the people you'd like to help on a community focus.
Yeah.
So yeah, June 2019, that was it. So it really happened really quick, and it's going even faster as time goes. So man, that wasn't very long ago at all.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking. Because of the power of this these platforms, podcasting, media, and that, you
Mhm.
probably got avalanched, and you didn't expect for it to happen probably so quick, did you? Because
No, I didn't.
that's how quickly these things can blow up in these spaces, and that's why I'm
Yeah.
trying to get the sort of the message through to people that are listening, that you just don't realize the power behind it once you get started and once you get into this space. And we've got the YouTube space, and we've got all social media as well. That's you can sort of wrap it all around into one thing.
Yeah,
But
here's one point I want to drive home to whoever's watching this or anybody. And I really think about you because you're a tradesman and you're doing podcasts, which is incredible. And that is exactly the opportunity that a lot of people are missing. So let's go with this idea. Let's say there's a local painter and he would like to increase his business. So you talk to the painter and say, well, why don't you create your own podcast? Now, a local painter, they'd be like, what, are you crazy? That doesn't make any sense. I'm not a media guy. I'm not into, nobody wants to listen to what a painter has to say. But when that painter becomes a media presence in his own niche, in his own community, people will gravitate towards that person for business because they feel familiar. It's all a psychological thing. You start to become familiar with someone, you think of them as a friend. You want to give business to your friends when you know they're qualified to do it because you've been listening to them every single week with little tips and tricks that they give you on painting and how to restore your house or how to keep from making a giant mess when you're doing an interior job. But yeah, that's the one thing I think a lot of business owners are still missing. I mean, we're immersed in technology, but a lot of business owners are still not utilizing this power that they have right at their fingertips.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's a great example, because we just think real estate or whatever, but any industry you can use
yeah,
media, podcasting, social media to really widen your reach to I mean, look, just that example, for instance, you might start off in Melbourne, and I think
hmm,
there's probably tens of thousands of painters in Melbourne. You get a bit of a following. Next thing, every state. Next thing, there's obviously a lot of painters in America. Next thing, you get a following. Now, not everyone's going to get that huge following, but that's what can
yeah,
actually happen. You become almost, like you said, an expert in that area. You've been doing it for 40 years. You know it like the back of your hand. You bring
right,
other experts on. You bring other trades on. All of a sudden, it becomes a bit of a variety show. You've got all this different
yeah,
stuff, and who doesn't want to who doesn't want to learn how to paint properly? Because you've got every person trying to paint their own house. They want some
yeah,
tips and tricks. So that's just a great example of, that's not such a silly idea to be a painter and have a podcast and have a
no,
Facebook group. It's not. And these are the mediums. You don't advertise in the paper anymore. It doesn't work. You
no,
go
right,
out and you have your website. And look, I know my old apprentice. He's in his 30s now. He's using social media, you know, because of the visual effect, and he's using
right.
it brilliantly to enhance his business. And it's been really, really clever of him to do it. Whereas
Oh
I
yeah,
was from the old school. I didn't start Facebook until I basically 2 years ago. Once I I hadn't never turned on a computer. So
yeah. That's
it just
crazy.
shows you the power of it. So
Yeah,
look, I'll wrap it up there because we could keep talking forever. But I just wanted you to come on and just whet the appetite of people out there that are thinking, oh well, yeah, actually, I mean, I could even start my own Facebook group. It can be
yeah,
area specific, and you can do a live. And once you get a half a dozen, 10 lives, hey, guess what? You could do a podcast. All of a sudden, it grows. You start meeting other people that are doing it, and bang, you get onto Antonio, and he takes you nationwide, and
yeah,
the sky's the limit. So I just wanted people
yeah,
to understand how powerful this is, and how that, like you said, you had an idea, and all of a sudden you're here now, and you're like, wow, that happened pretty quick. Even with
yeah,
COVID, it still blew up really quickly, and
yeah,
it's only the beginning, isn't it? Really, of where we're
yeah.
heading
It really is. It
in
really is.
this
Yeah,
decade. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. There's so much more that's possible. I mean, we've only touched on a few cities. We have, I mean, what, 40 other states that we can touch on with major cities. I mean, the sky is the limit, it feels. And I do not want business owners in the real estate investing space to leave this potential on the table for them to gain more revenue. It's right here for them. You know, if
Yep.
they need some help, I'm here. Let's make it happen. You
Yep.
know,
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Antonio, and just sharing so much information, and also putting yourself out there. You've got your contact details on the screen, so like I said, people just go back and watch it, jot it down, connect with Antonio. He's the man. He's the guy, and not just because of his skills, but he's got the heart. You can just see it on the camera. He's got the heart, and he will help you fire up. And also on top of that, if anyone in the group, just reach out to me and I'll hook you up with Antonio myself.
yeah,
So
cool.
awesome, mate. I'm super pumped that you got that message out to people. I'm going to get you.
Yeah,
Ruben's excited. I'm going to get Ruben out there. The world needs to see Ruben. He's a wordsmith and
awesome.
he's a smooth operator. So I'll get you set up with Ruben.
Yeah,
But and you never know. Even Marty over in New Zealand, he might get up and about one day as well. But I think it's amazing
awesome.
what you're doing, mate. Keep doing it, and I love your drive. I love the heart behind it, and the fact that you've got a deep why about what you spoke about
You're doing it too, man.
educating
I'm
people.
super impressed by what you're doing, by the way. You're doing it. You're
Yeah,
doing
well,
it.
I've got a similar story than you. You know, I'm a working class person. I
Yeah,
want to see people be able to invest. It's not
right,
as hard as what they think, and you've got to get them educated and
right.
realize that it's possible. It's without real estate, I wouldn't have been able to educate my kids at the school I did. I wouldn't have been able to do half the things I did.
Yeah.
Um, my trade put food on the table, but it didn't do the rest of the things. So I'm with
Mhm.
you, Antonio. I'm passionate about it,
Awesome.
and that's my why. I'll be out there. We'll probably be 20 years from now, still spruiking and still
Yeah,
still trying to get the message out there. So,
yeah.
all right, mate, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and we'll have to catch up
Likewise.
ourselves off air a bit. And yeah, please reach out to Antonio. He is the man in this space. And do yourself a favor, get involved now. Don't wait. Don't wait for 6 months or 12 months. Do it now. So, all right, we'll sign out. Thanks, Antonio. I'll because I've got to work on the intro and outro. I spoke to you about that because we've had problems with it. We've been
It's
flagged.
all right, man.
So we'll just go straight off air now. But guys, Antonio's the man. All right.
Thanks, Graham.
We'll talk
Thanks
to you
for having
later.
me on, man.
No worries. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.